In this lesson, we will cover dashboard navigation. The first thing that you will need to do is to log into your course. Click on Login, type in your username and then your password. Click on Login again, and this should take you to the dashboard. I've got the default theme installed on Moodle. Yours may look a little bit different, but in general, it should look something like this. As you can see, I don't have anything really on my dashboard. It's pretty blank. But I'm going to walk you through this dashboard and explain some of the features that are available here. You will not need to use all of the things that you see in front of you. In fact, we're going to go ahead and clean up some of the dashboard and get rid of anything that we don't need. I would highly recommend that you clean it up and avoid having a lot of boxes and blocks listed over here so that it's a lot easier for you to navigate. If you look to the left of your screen, you will see a list of links, starting with the top level, which is dashboard, site home. This basically takes you to the home page that we started off with where we logged in initially. And then you've got calendar, private files, content bank, and then courses. So with the calendar, this is basically the calendar that you would list any events that you would like to show yourself or even share with students as well if you want to. In this particular course, there is an empty calendar over here. And at the very top, it'll list the month and also any kind of special events that are shared on all courses, or if you have a particular course, I've only got one course installed right now. It's in an accountant class. You can go ahead and filter through there. So this is basically the filter for the calendar. To create an event, you simply click on New Event, and you can give your event a title and then basically proceed through the features that are available over here. You can type in a description, the location for your event, the duration, and you could also repeat the event if this is a recurring event. So this is a manual way of entering your calendar. Another option is to go to perhaps another calendar, such as a Google Calendar. I'm going to go ahead and open it up over here. And you can go to your calendars on Google Calendar, and I've got a basic one over here with a few events. And you can click on the three little dots to the right of the particular calendar that you want to import or share with your Moodle calendar, and click on Settings and Sharing. And then you can go ahead and scroll down until you get to the public address in iCal format. You can go ahead and click on that and copy this link. Go back to Moodle, and what you can do over here is you can go to Manage Subscriptions. This is where you can import a calendar from another location, and you can give this any name. For example, I can call this GCal since this is from Google. Import from calendar URL, yes, you're going to have a couple of options. Calendar file if you imported an ICS file, or you can use the URL itself. We've got a URL, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. Paste that in there. And you can specify how frequently you want this calendar to be updated. You could have it updated weekly, daily, or every hour. I'm going to go ahead with every hour for now. And then we're going to click on Add. And as you can see, it says that it imported 3 events. And if I go back to the dashboard, or if I go back to the calendar, I should say, you'll see that one of the events is already listed over there. All right, so let's go back to the dashboard now. Now, the second thing that I'd like to show you are the private files area. Private files is an area where you basically can store files on the Moodle server that you plan on using in your courses. One of the things that I would recommend that you do is have a folder that contains all of the files for the Moodle course that you would like to teach. And this is something that I shared earlier on in the previous lesson. So this is basically what you can do is you could either leave it on your computer, your desktop, or if you want, you could go ahead and open up the file and drag all of the items over here into this area. What I personally plan on doing is creating a folder over here and then calling it accounting, because this is an accounting class that I will be building with you. And then we're going to drop everything into it. But we'll get to that later on. Let's continue with the navigation and go back to the dashboard. We're going to move on to the right side of the page. As you can see, the center of the page includes recently accessed courses. This is something that you can keep or get rid of if you don't want to. I personally only like to keep things that I will be using on a regular basis. The timeline over here is a block. So these are called blocks right over here. And the timeline will list any upcoming activities or deadlines that your students will have in their courses. So if you want to see that as soon as you log into your Moodle course, you can go ahead and leave this block over here. Private files is, like I said earlier on, this is where you can go ahead and upload any files that you plan on using within your course. It makes it a lot easier for you to access them. The online users will list all of the users that are currently logged into your system. And I don't know that you'll find this useful. You may find it useful or not. I've rarely ever used it. I've always had it installed, but I don't really spend a lot of time looking at it. Latest badges, this is if you have any badges that you would like to display, they can be listed over here. And then the calendar and then the upcoming events. So if you notice, these are the events that we just imported from the Google Calendar. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll through here and basically remove anything that I don't really need to see. So I will get rid of the online users. I don't really need to see that. So I'm going to delete the online users block. It's going to ask me for confirmation. And just like that, I cleared that out. I don't plan on using badges, so I will get rid of that as well. I think the timeline is useful if you are going to have deadlines. That way, as soon as you log into your course, you'll be able to see what is upcoming in terms of deadlines for the students. I don't need the calendar since this is going to be listed on my computer, and I generally know what day of the week it is. So I'm going to remove the block, but I will keep the upcoming events because for me, this is a lot easier to read than having to go through the calendar and click on specific dates. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the calendar. And by the way, deleting the calendar doesn't remove them from the system permanently. It just removes them from the dashboard. So you can always reinstall them if you want to. Okay, and I'm going to leave the rest for now. One of the things that I would like to add is another block. One of the things that I like to do as soon as I log into a course or into my dashboard, I should say, is basically see what's happening in the world of education. So Moodle has some cool features. If you click on add block, once you've clicked on customize, you should see on the left hand side add a block. So you can actually add some blocks over here. And I like to include a block that provides some RSS feed for some news. That way when I first log in, I basically see what's going on in a particular area. So you can click on remote RSS feed. And as you can see, it appeared right over here. We are going to click on the little gear icon and we are going to configure this block. So by default, what this will do is this will pull basically the feed of a particular RSS that you'd like to add to your page. I've already got one over here. I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to go through the process of adding a completely new one. So we're going to click on add new feed. And this is a feed URL. And we're going to go to EdSource. And in terms of where you get the feed, a lot of websites, all you'll need to do is at the end of the URL, you will need to do a / and then type in feed. And as you can see, this includes the XML data that you will need. But actually, you don't really need this. What you need is that URL right there. So we're going to go ahead and copy that. You can go ahead and close this now and paste the URL feed. I'm going to leave this blank over here. Shared feed this is if you want to share it with everybody else. This is really for me, so I'm not going to say yes. I'm going to just leave it as no. And this is basically the feed right there. So let's go back. And right now nothing's showing up over here. So we're going to go once again over here and we will go ahead and configure this. And we will select the number of entries, or basically the news links that you want to see. We'll select add source. And we're going to call this news. Where this block appears, if you have a lot of blocks, you really need to specify exactly how important this is so that it will appear at the top of your list. I'm going to go ahead and select 0. Basically, that's position 0, so it starts at the very top, and then we're going to click on Save. And as you can see, there is my newsfeed right there. It basically has 5 items. And if this is too much, you can go ahead and reduce this to 3 if you want to, or even add more if you want to. But this is a nice way to basically create your own little home page for your Moodle. So as soon as you log in, you've got some feed that come in if you'd like to use that feature. All right, for the time being, since we don't have any deadlines, what we're going to do is I will go ahead and remove the timeline block for now. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And the next thing that we'll work on is the private files. So I wanted to show you how to go ahead and work with the private files. So we're going to go ahead and click on Manage Private Files. And the first thing that I want to do is create a folder here. And we'll call this folder Accounting. And you can call it, I would recommend that you call it basically with the name of the course that you're creating. There it is. And if you click on that, now you can basically drag and drop any kind of files that you will be using. So for the time being, for demonstration purposes, I will go ahead and select some of these files over here and just drag them and drop them. There. And click on Save. Now in the future, if you need to access a file or use it to upload a particular item to a course, you'll be able to do so from here, or within the course, you'll have an option to basically use the files that you've already added to the server, so you don't have to use your desktop to do that. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that you can actually move these blocks around. So you can grab a block using that icon, and you can move a block either down or you can move it up. So depending on what you want to see at the top or the middle. I typically don't need the files up, so I will put that over here at the bottom. And I actually don't need to see the upcoming events for now, so I'm going to just go ahead and delete that block. Just like that, and we will move the news to the top right there. I also don't need the course overview, so what I'll do is I will just go ahead and remove this block. Okay, so that pretty much cleared up most of our page. The next thing that we're going to go over is the add a block option in the dashboard. So if we go over to the left of the screen, right over here where it says add a block, you click on it, you will see that we have lots and lots of options of blocks that we can pick from. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to use one of my favorite blocks, which is basically the HTML block, because when you include the HTML block on your dashboard, you can really customize it to display anything.
So in this particular example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little fun with my dashboard, and I am going to customize this HTML block by having it display the temperature for Los Angeles. So let's go ahead and click on configure. And I'm not going to give it a title. I'm going to leave it blank because I don't want any text. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go to the content area and click on that little arrow right there. And this is going to expand the menu and allow us to click on the icon for the HTML code. So we're going to click on that. And we will delete all of this code right over here. And there is a website that I'm going to go to. Let me go ahead and open a new tab. And there are a lot of websites that have these weather widgets that you can embed into your website. This is just one of many that are available. So we're going to go ahead and basically click on this one right over here. I want to put that on my dashboard. And maybe I'll go with 240, slightly larger. Once again, Los Angeles. For the website, I'm just going to go ahead and put an IP address and make sure that the city is accurately reflected in the code in the bottom. We're going to copy the code, paste it back into our HTML editor, make sure that it has Los Angeles listed over here. And that looks about accurate. Close the HTML editor. Let's go ahead and center everything and save our changes. Great, so there is our temperature for the day. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is I want to change the center of the page, and what I'd like to do is I want to move the news over to the center of the page. And all I have to do is just drag and drop, and instead of 5 listings over here, I'm going to change the configuration to only 3. Save. So basically I want just the top 3 news stories, and I want to go ahead and add a HTML block to the center right here that has an image. I'd like to have basically a header image right over here. So what I'll do is I will add a block. I will select HTML, and you notice that by default it basically puts it on the right side, which is fine. All you need to do is basically drag it and drop it right in the center. I'm going to click on the gear icon. We're going to configure the HTML block. And what I'm going to do is I've got an image right here on my folder, and I'll just drag the picture that I want and drop it right there. And we are going to expand the menu and just center the image. And we will save it. And we're going to move this to the top of the page right there. And I don't really want the recently accessed courses because your courses are going to appear by default right over here on the left menu panel. So, and for me, I've only got one course right now, so I don't need this block. So I'll go ahead and delete it because I like to have things just clean and as efficient as possible. So we will delete that block, confirm. And with that, that looks pretty good. We can go ahead and click on Stop Customizing This Page. And your dashboard is ready to go.